What's up, you guys? Joe Dobby here. I am now a Deck Out Gaming affiliate. Use Joe Dobbs Deck Out at checkout. Deck Out Gaming has tons of singles for Pokemon, Dragon Ball Super, and Digimon TCG, as well as One Piece. They now buy list as well, so don't hesitate to reach out, and they got your back. Really high customer service ratings. Thank you, guys. And yeah, let's get to the video. What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Dobby with another Digimon TCG deck profile for you. And with EX-04 now released, I've got some exciting, kind of like fun decks that I really want to play for this set. This set kind of like, you know, with new sets and stuff, I kind of get really into building fun decks and then slowly drive my way into the competitive scene. And more often than not, we come away with some creative decks that can actually compete. Now with mulligans, hopefully that helps a little bit more as well. Yeah, I just wanted to show you guys this Ravemon, DanDevimon hand control kind of like combo deck. And there's a lot of weaknesses, I'll be honest. However, it does get to pop off. I did play against Spoof Lair, and Xmon was absolutely crucial, but we'll dive into everything right now. So first things first, I run 4 copies of Pinamon, which is great because there's a lot of self-deletion that happens here with Ravemon and with your removal cards. So this really helps gain that memory back from these effects, which I really like. That said, feel free to sub this out for DanDevimon for that draw trash one. The draw trash one is actually more favorable into the DanDevimon. However, I'm testing this right now just to see how greedy I can get. Next, we're running 2 copies of the Gazimon. I think floodgates need to be respected a little bit more now if Spoof Lair does start to take over the meta. I don't think it would. I think there are greater problems that Spoof Lair will end up having to deal with, but I know that Spoof Lair, Dark Knightmon, all these decks are fun as well, and you're going to see them at locals, so prepare for Gazimon and the Xmon combo. And once again, Xmon came absolutely clutch, because what I've learned right now is not a lot of people are familiar with Forbidden Trident. So they can't bounce off the Xmon or the Gazimon, making it a very big problem. Next, we've got 4 copies of Falcomon, you guys. This actually is an amazing searcher. Sometimes, or more often than not, if you're going second, your opponent might put you to 3-4 memory. You can Digivolve with another rookie in Raising and prepare the Xmon, Gazimon, or even the DanDevimon, and then hard play the Falco. If you end up with a Peckmon and you have a Keenan Crier in your hand, it's absolute value, because then the Falco can go into Peckmon to play Keenan Crier, and all of a sudden, you are essentially passing 1 memory back from the 3 you were given, or 2 memory from the 3 you were given, and now you have a memory setter and 2 Digimon set up to basically advance. So very good opening play. I really like this card. Also, not to neglect, it's inheritable on deletion. If deleted outside of battle, your opponent trashes 1 card in your hand. Once again, we're going for hand destruction. That is the name of the game, and we're going to keep it going. 4 copies of DanDevimon over here, and what I love about DanDevimon is on deletion, if you've got 7 or more guys with Devimon in their names, you get to play a DanDevimon without paying its memory cost. So DanDevimon is one of the kings of hand destruction, and I really, really like that. And we manipulate DanDevimon in the Ravemon stack specifically to essentially bring out 2 Digimon. Or you bring out the DanDevi, and then at the end of your opponent's next turn, Ravemon comes out, and then it's like this you know, cascading level 6 drops that just come out of nowhere, and it becomes a problem to deal with. 4 copies of Xmon Scatter Mode. I realized that one of the key weaknesses is the ability to trash DanDevimon and get Devimon names in your trash, because you're not playing as many as you would actually anticipate for. That said, you can tweak the build to add as many Devimon names as you'd like. However, I found the floodgates very important in the games that I've tested, so I'm not going to add more Demi-Devis than I need just yet. But this allows me to draw 3 trash 2, and if I'm trashing 2 Devimon in their names, that pretty much sets me up for the DanDevi anyway. Peckmon, because it's an avian and it's the direct line for Ravemon, and it allows you to play Keenan Crier if you don't have one on play just yet. 3 copies of the Blocker Devimon, just to add a name, but also because 1 cost can come in really clutch, because sometimes if your opponent's putting you to 2, that 1 cost could get you to the level 5, especially going into the Lady Devimon with the draw 2, trash 2, and that becomes huge for creating that DanDevimon setup for when you go into the Demi-Devi Ravemon kind of like stack and raising. In addition to that, this is just a very good early game blocker. Stop your opponent from getting your early checks in. Don't allow them to pressure you too early. Have that set up, and then hopefully go wide enough to win the game. One copy of NeoDevi that I'm actually testing, and this came in really, really clutch when, once again, against Spoof Lair and against Dark Knightmon, now that they can cheat out Tamers. And because lists are so tight right now, I can see people upping NeoDevimon to 2, specifically for the fact that, you know, it's hard to play like a memory Floodgate on these other decks. For purple, it's easier to play Floodgates, but if you're looking at a tight list like Spoof Lair, Dark Knightmon, it might not be the easiest fit. So NeoDevi will have some stock. I actually got someone actually played Blazing Memory Boost on me, set me to like 3 or whatever, and then with a NeoDevimon out, they played a Kiraha that set me to 7, and then from there I dropped a Gazi, so they couldn't even use the Blazing Boost next turn, and that just became problems. That just became problems. So next, we're going to Chromon here. What I like about Chromon is in situations where you are unable to go into Ravemon and keep turn, the Chromon can attack and Digivolve into Ravemon. So you're still able to trigger Ravemon's end of turn effect. Ravemon will have natural jamming, so you're pretty much good to trigger the end of turn effect, or end of attack effect generally, and you trigger Chromon's uninheritable, Peckmon inheritable, and Demi-Devimon inheritable, and all of a sudden you've got a Dan coming out and a Ravemon the following turn. So 3 copies of DanDevimon. This is part of the hand destruction mechanism. Your opponent's turn, once per turn, when a card is removed from your security stack, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So this sets you up quite well, I would say, because when the Ravemon gets deleted, actually, your opponent can either trash a card from their hand or take the top of their security to their hand. And when you have a DanDevi out already, on your opponent's turn, if they try to delete Ravemon that way because you didn't use its end of attack effect, then they could potentially lose 2 security, depending on their hand size, right? In addition to that, if they're not paying attention, then on deletion they trash 2 cards from their hand, and if the DanDevi, you just straight up evoed DanDevi and deleted it with another one of your cards, like Deathclaw or whatever, and it's got a Chromon underneath, a Peckmon underneath, a Falcomon underneath, they are going to get quite punished for that, so that's pretty good. Ravemon, we've talked about this throughout, but I'll dive into it. So end of attack, by deleting this Digimon that has a Digivolution card with Bird or Avian in one of its traits, at the end of your opponent's turn, play 1 Ravemon from trash without paying its cost. So this comes after the DanDevi basically, which is really cool. I like that a lot. And when it's at the end of your opponent's next turn, at the start of your next turn, which is right after, Ravemon gets to attack pretty much, and you can do it all again. On deletion though, if your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, they trash 1 card in their hand. If you got 7 or fewer cards, they add the top of their security stack to their hand. So they don't really want to be deleting the Ravemon with a DanDevi out, because if they have fewer than 7 cards, then they're losing 2 security essentially on their turn, which is pretty much pain. 1 copy of Death Xmon because it's Death Xmon. De-Digivolve 1 on play when Digivolving, and then delete all level 4. This came in clutch again, once again Spoof Lair. 3 copies of Keenan Crier, which I like because it's a memory setter, and its all turns effect is cool too because you can potentially end turns and draw 1 that way, which is really neat. 1 copy of Calling from Darkness because you want that calling. You want to be able to return pieces to your hand that you might need, especially because there's not a lot of full Avian or Bird decks yet, so it's kind of like a big deal. You might want to actually, so Avian, Bird, that works out. Like Chromon is like Mysterious Bird. You've got Peckmon, which is Avian. You've got Falcomon. So if you run like an option-heavy list, you can actually play cards like Sound Birdmon, which is an Avian. You can play Say Birdramon with Retaliation, which is actually a giant bird. So if I'm not mistaken, all these things actually work out quite well with the effects, so that's good. 2 copies of Tarnished Hero. You don't really worry about the color requirement thing because you're playing purple, but main, delete one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon. This is clutch because you can drop this to delete Digimon that don't allow you to play Digimon by effects. I'm pretty sure there's a floodgate like that out already, and this kind of control is very important. In addition to that, your memory gains and stuff, that's really important, so being able to delete their floodgates is quite important. But you can sub out Tarnished Hero for like memory boosts or whatever else you might need. You can even sub this out for Analog Youth and gain post value instead of like doing that. But once again, this is hand destruction. So Tarnished Hero's delay effect is your opponent may trash one option card in their hand, so they can potentially have to get rid of like a plug-in, which could be clutch, and if they don't, you gain 2 memory. Giving that condition can be nice. Next is Ame no Ohabari. By deleting one of your opponent's Digimon, or by deleting one of your own Digimon, excuse me, delete one of your opponent's Digimon whose level is less than or equal to one of your Digimon. And if one of your Digimon with Ravemon in its name was deleted by this effect, at the end of your opponent's turn, you can play a Ravemon. So you don't have to use Ravemon's end of attack effect if you're gonna do this afterward. Because if you're gonna pop it to pop something, then it basically can come back anyway, so that's fine. Its security effect is really good. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level. And last but not least, 2 copies of Deathclaw. So it's Deathclaw, Ame no Ohabari, and Calling from Darkness. You have 6 things here that can pop your Digimon to bring out Ravemon, DanDevimon, and etc. if you are unable to trigger certain things. But ultimately, your stack, the beauty about this is the inheritables of the avians, they're pretty good. So like you've got Falco, Peck, and Crow, and Crow is nice because it deletes a level 5 or lower, which is really, really huge. Like your opponent doesn't want to delete that DanDevi, they don't want to delete that Ravemon on their own unless they're swinging over it, and at that point, like, you could set up blockers for that with the Devimon and kind of protect it. So you should be good on that front. Or you can catch them early on, depending on the matchup, and delete your own Digimon with Deathclaw, with Calling, and with Ame no Ohabari before they even get to do that. But that said, you guys, the deck list is a little bit... still needs some work. I'm going to be testing a little bit more, but I'm also going to be working on Dark Knightmon as like a pet deck. I really enjoy Dark Knightmon and the whole line, and with the support, it's going to be super fun. So thank you guys so much for watching, and peace.